Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Open eCrime market commentary for the week of October 8th. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and we'll be taking a look at some of the key markets, the U.S. indices, some foreign currencies and commodities, see what's going to happen this week, what the markets look like, and where some of our potential trade setups might be and what our bias might be for this week's outlook. So let's jump into the U.S. indices right here and take a look first off at some of the big cap stocks on the mini S&P futures, and just take a look at some of the historical price action here and see where we might be headed this week. We've got a couple of, on the monthly chart, looking at the higher time frame. Again, we're in the fifth month here. Another bullish candle so far, but it's only 8 days into the month, so we haven't broken up to a new high as of yet, but that's probably what we'd be looking to do. So very bullish on the markets overall, very bullish charts here again on the weekly. We just came back, retested that 1420 level 3 weeks ago, and now we're looking to potentially break up through that high of right around 1468 of that last week's candle right there. So right now, as we move down on some of the other time frames, we're starting getting some indecision here and some indecisive candles. Got a very bearish candle there on Friday. We made a nice move up, and then we got prices rejected off of that high. Didn't quite get up to that 14. Let's be pretty precise here. We didn't get up to that. I think it was a 1468. Yeah, that was the high. So we got up to 1466.50. So almost back to the high, and then we got a breakdown through the low of that bearish candle. So overall, it's looking fairly indecisive here in the short term. As we move down to the 480 chart, we can see kind of a potential reversal pattern setting up here. So I'd be a little cautious at this point. I'd really be looking for potentially a third touch up at this level around that 1468, 1466 level, and start to look for potentially a consolidation there and maybe a pullback and some higher highs, higher lows moving up into that level, and then see if we can get a break of that level. So for right now, we don't have a very precise touch, but it's pretty close. And on some of the lower time frames, we do have some, basically a reversal pattern along with some divergence that could mean a breakdown further. So I'd be a little cautious at this point in the market. Overall, we're still very bullish on the, on the large cap indices here. But for right now, short term, it looks like there might be a little bit of a pullback. If you look at some of your lower time frames, we're starting to set up some divergence on the lower time frames to push higher off of this current level that we're at. And then we have that support level right there at 1445. So there's actually a gap fill from a few days ago last week right at that 1444 level. So I might anticipate the market coming down a little bit more, filling that gap, and then potentially moving higher. So that is the outlook here for the week on the S&P 500. I'm just looking to be a little bit cautious here and see if we can get an overall better pattern set up. Even though we're bullish on the markets, we want a good pattern setting up to go long, as opposed to trying to guess at what some of these reversal patterns and some of these other things might mean to us. So let's wait until we get a nice signal going long. There isn't one right now, but potentially if we get a consolidation here, we start to have some small candles pushing up against that 1467, 68 level, then we can look to potentially get long for another breakout to some new highs. And taking a look then at the small caps here on the Russell 2000 futures, we've been talking about this flat level setting up here. We just got a third touch, just a slight breakthrough there, and then a rejection down off of that. But we are setting up a right at that 728 level, set in a obviously a higher low, moving up into that flat level for a third touch. Probably anticipate maybe another pullback potentially down to this maybe that 800 level. That would give us then another higher low and then move up and then get that consolidation to a flat level. So starting to kind of set up a little bit similar to the futures on the ES. And as we look at the weekly chart, the flat level doesn't look as good. It's not as precise. We've got two touches at 850, a breakthrough, then up to like 866, and then a pullback down below that, back into the moving averages. So not in terms of a flat level, not very precise at all. We want those to be very precise. Again, we have another bearish candle that's set up at the end of last week that closed out. So it doesn't give us a lot of confidence in getting long right here on the Russell futures. But As we start to move down to some of the other time frames, we don't have any type of reversal pattern setting up here on the Russell, but it looks like we could possibly get maybe a breakdown further to potentially that 800 level, which would be very reasonable, and then get a move back up into this level with a consolidation up around that 857, 860 level, and see if we can get a move higher. So charts are still very bullish on these indices across the board. It's just a matter of potentially some news coming out and looking to see if the economy is strengthening or weakening to determine if the market's going to push higher. And then typically, what'll help that is obviously the U.S. elections coming up here in November over the next couple of weeks, and typically you'll see a trend higher into the elections. And depending upon who's elected, you'll see the result of that after the elections. So keep an eye out on some of these markets. Keep an eye out on that flat level on the monthly chart. That can take a long time to set up, but also keep an eye out on your daily charts and your 480 and the 240s and the intermediate time frames to see if we get that pullback potentially into that 800 level, and then for another move higher back up into that 860 level. Then you can start to play some of those moves in the market with either a trend flow setup in combination with with the flat level breaks on those momentum trades. Looking then at the euro-dollar pairing, as we look at some of the higher time frames here, we've really been in a range here for quite some time on even the monthly chart, down from a low here of about that 120, 121 level up to the high of around 148, 149, and really just moving back and forth off of those two ranges here quite extensively. And so going down to some of the other time frames like the daily, you can see there's a very nice trend developing on this next move higher, coming down off of that that 121 level, looking to maybe move back up to the other level. That's a pretty long-term move. So we're really just looking to see if we can identify on some of these lower time frames a point where we can actually get in on a shorter-term trade. But we got that most recent pullback here to 128. And within the last 2 weeks, got to move higher, getting a little bit of a pullback back into the buy zone on the 480 chart. So start looking at some of your intermediate time frames like the 480, the 240, the 120. Got just a slightly bullish candle right there. I'd like to see maybe a smaller green candle set up, and maybe we might have a series of indecisive or bullish candles setting up right in that buy zone on the 480 chart. And then that would give us an opportunity to get long, taking the break of the high of those candles with our stop below the low, and then looking to move potentially back up, break the 130 level, and get back up to the high here of 131.7. So that would be at least probably what we're looking for here in the next week or two. So take a look at those setups, nice little trend flow set up there as well. And I think if you take a look at the dollar index, you'll see the dollar index pulling back a little bit as well, which gives us an inclination that the euro dollar here might be moving higher. And that's the market outlook for the week of October 8th. We'd like to thank you for watching the Open eCry market commentary, and we do look forward to speaking to you next week on the Market Update.